Hello, everybody. It is Wednesday, January the 14th, 2026. We're going to do a current event. What's on the news right now? Saw some interesting things and I want to get into it. So let's go. All right. So Linda Li, which I am glad she is not totally um, on the left to the point that she lost her mind, that she was able to come out and identify some major problems with what was going on in the Democratic Party. So I like her spunk, and I like what she has done. She's uh, way up there in the uh, top tier of things. But she went on, I don't know, Young Turks, so one of those programs, and she made some statements that I want to go over and try to break down. Again, I will be using systems and information analysis to see did her statements um, makes I mean it makes sense. What is it? Did she back it up, or anybody can go over there and make statements that are unfounded or founded, and I just like to break it down so that when we do make statement, we follow up. Right? What did I mean? What did I say? How did I say it? The stuff out of the way. I'm all crowded here. All right, so let's get going. All right, so she says she supports Donald Trump, and I appreciate that. She says she's American, and I appreciate that. So she's not a left lunatic. Sort of like, not completely, but I'm just giving a comparison. You got Joe Rogan, who supported Donald Trump. Now some news that he's upset about what ICE is doing, calling Gestapo. That's the headlines. I don't know if he actually said that or not. I will hopefully be able to do a deep dive in the coming days. But let me know what you think, what you heard. Please like, subscribe, uh, leave a comment, and please share that we can continue to do these analysis and see from an information and a systems point of view, a lens, what is actually going on, what is actually being said. All right. So Linda Li, she said, I support President Trump and trust he has America's best interest at heart. When she's saying that, she's saying it in a bunch of den of thieves, um, especially usually on the Young Turks platform. Anna Karitna, whatever her name is, she was on there smiling because she goes back and forth. She tried to sometimes appear to be going, in between, trying to sound sensible at times, but she definitely on the left wing. I'm trying to do the actual clip here, and then we'll go to another clip that kind of reinforces what she said. So she throw out some numbers, and the number is $17 trillion. So supposedly Trump goes into Venezuela for the oil. However, nevertheless, let's always remember, just like when you're driving down the road, and I heard this said to me by a friend, if you're driving down the road and you get pulled over, you gave them permission to pull you over, whether you think about it or not. Look at it like this: driving that road, you ran a stop sign. Driving that road, you ran a red light. Driving around the road, you failed to use your signals. That alerts the law enforcement to, hey, let's stop and have a chat. So Venezuela, Hugo Chavez, and Maduro failed to yield to Donald Trump. All right. Whatever you think of him, I support him. they gave America the right to pull them over in the hemisphere. That's what I'm trying to say. Trying to give you an analysis. So, an example of what and how I think about it. So, we did not go in there when they were a sovereign state, not affecting America. They're affecting America with 800 reportedly thousand immigrants and 8 million around the world. So they're affecting American domestic and foreign policy. So that gives President Trump an opportunity to say, hey, we're going down and do some business. All right. So that being said, it's in our hemisphere. We do some action. It affecting us over 100 or 200,000, maybe 300,000. Sometimes that number is thrown out, are affected, are dying in America. So America, under President Trump and the MAGA movement, says we're going to put a halt to this. And people on the right don't understand. If someone's knocking at my door or shooting my neighbor, that might be America first, not only an opportunity, but also a duty to stop someone from coming in and flooding my homeland. He stopped blowing up the boats. They didn't take it seriously. Guess what? Drug flow by sea slowed down tremendously. He started taking on the oil tankers. Guess what? I didn't know that there were shadow ghost tankers out there that was delivering oil, sanctioned oil from Venezuela to Iran. Venezuela, because of their politics, was not drilling and shipping the oil to refineries in the United States that could refine this oil. So they was doing it with Iran, who was another enemy, under sanctions by the United States. The oil goes from Venezuela to Iran, pay off some debts. Iran keeps some, sells some, apparently, ships back refined crude oil, refined oil, or products to Venezuela because they cannot do it themselves. And that's how it was going. But now, by America stepping up and putting on a halt to this, that takes care of some of our enemies. That's America first, whether you like it, whether you believe it or not. All right. So Trump does this, and the world goes crazy, and domestically in area. Lindy Li seems to be supporting Trump. She seems to I think she voted for. She came out later because she was devastated when the 1.2 billion dollars was mishandled by Kamala Harris. She came out, Lindy Li did, and brought out information only an insider knew, and she was bringing in the big bucks for the Democratic Party, and the donors didn't like, and many of them came out and said they didn't like how the money was handled, what was going on, and that sort of thing. So, with all that being said, we know that she came out afterwards, and that leads to this. I wanted to get you into the understanding of who she is, if you don't know, and I'll upload this later to YouTube and to TikTok. Right now, I'm doing these live streams, trying to get people to see it, to maintain my flexibility here. So let's go see if we can get this to play. Linda Li.
One of those billionaires is a man named Paul Singer, who's one of the biggest donors to the Federal Society and to the Republican Party as a whole. He was actually one of the funders behind Clarence Thomas. Paul Singer is also the same guy who spent $1 million trying to defeat Thomas Massey. Yep. And he also has an enormous investment in a company named Citgo.
Yep.
And now he's positioned to make billions of dollars off of this because there are $17.3 trillion of oil in the ground. And look, I'm American. I want President Trump to succeed. I want this venture to succeed. But it would be a disservice to our audience, to the American people, if I didn't point out that this is anathema to the America First agenda. Why are we doing this? We're broke. We're $40 trillion in debt, and we don't know how much this costs. Why are we doing this with no game plan? We don't have a day after plan. We're just hoping for the best.
Now, you heard those statements, so I let it run in its entirety. Hopefully, I'm gonna get flagged by YouTube. So, with that, that she said, she brings out her point. But for television, the problem with these shows, there's no depth to the message, and that's what we want to sit back and go over and break it down. Now, another young man that I found, he's talking about the end of the empire, and I am going to go. It might not be tonight. It might be a couple of days next week when I get to break down his videos on how supposedly $17 trillion changed hands. But what they don't put together is other things that are going on. They myopic, but he tries to bring in different things. And I need to hear all these people. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad to hear the information, but now we're going to analyze it and show you why it may not be as much of a big deal as they want it to be, because we all guess it. The government does not give us all the ins and out of what they're doing, and they have these secret deals. They have these secret going on because there has to be some secrecy in government. There has to be some things, and you just have to trust. Sometimes you got to trust the people that's in there. You ain't gonna be able to do anything about it. I mean, unless something breaks, come out some kind of whistleblower. And like Obama, he went after the whistleblowers with vengeance. So let's not play games. So let's see and hear what this young man had to say.
This is exactly where we are right now. Venezuela holds 303 billion barrels of proven oil reserves at $57 per barrel. That's $17 peaned 3 trillion. On January 3rd, 2026, the United States took control of those reserves through a military operation that captured the country's president. Not a coincidence, not an outlier. This is stage 4 behavior, textbook empire economics.
Now, so again, he believes the United States is faltering, and we are in stage 4 of stage 7 of 7 stages on our way down. Don't get me wrong. $40 trillion, you in trouble, brother. What in the world? And it's not because of war. It is because the American people, I forgot the founding father said, once democracy learns that the American people can learn how to vote people in that will pay them, to paraphrase, we're on the way down. So I don't deny that we're in a decline in many areas, and we're propping ourselves up. And then the infestation of socialism and communism in America is morbidly dangerous. America is dying, and people are dancing in the street for the wrong reason. They're attacking ICE, who are moving illegal immigrants, aliens from the shores of America back to home. And there's going to be mistakes made, but you cannot let in 10 to 20 million and think everything is hunky-dory. So that being said, let's move on.
One of those billionaires is a man named Paul Singer.
All right, so I'm learning how to work that. All right, so we do the overall view, Linda Li's statement and its context. We'll look at structural analysis using systems theory, like I said, information theory, assessment of evidence quality. What was the evidence she was bringing forth, if at all any? Evaluation of causal logic claims. All right. She made claims. Now we're going to evaluate, is there a causation with that claim? All right. Critique of quantitative signals that she gave out, because information theory verbiage. All right. So she's signaling something, and we want to look at it. She said the $17.3 trillion in oil is an example of the signal she gave out. But what did she do to back it up? Throwing numbers out is, and same thing with the young man, is not at all enough when we delivering. But yes, with these soapbox type of shows, that is what you're gonna get. They throw out a lot of information, they don't back up anything, and you get, a lot of cookies and cream and no real facts. So that's what we're looking at. So, but those that are just tuning in, again, we're going to evaluate Lindy Li's statement about Trump and the invasion of Venezuela. So, here's my system theory and information theory rebuttal to her statements that evaluates the claim on its structure, evidence, quality, and causal logic rather than on partisan emotion. All right. It's not Democrat versus Republican, libertarian versus socialist, communist, what have you. This we try to come from a scientific point of view to analyze any statement, any program. And that's what we do here. So her statement sounds serious because it mixes large numbers, $17.3 trillion, real names, Trump, Singer, different ones, and moral language, right, wrong, good, bad. That combination creates high emotional authority with low causal proof. We're making claims, but we're providing no proof. All right. Information theory warns about this pattern. When a message carries strong emotional weight, but weak verifiable structure, it often functions as persuasive signal rather than a analytic claim. The presence of names and large dollar figures do not equal proof of a causal chain. It only creates perceived legitimacy. She got the number, she got the name, she tied this dot with that dot and with that point with this point. So it looks good on the surface. Still, like I said, I like what she did after the fall of the false narrative put forth by the Democrats, which was, thank God, pathetic, and the false narratives they put forth every day. They are not holding up. Generally, by the grace of God, Trump is working on a, 80-20 platform, sometimes 90-10. And the Democrats are going straight after it. And they want to move even farther to the left. Let them, but we got the whole center, and we got to, not go too far to the left in the foolishness. And we got to continue to be the populist party. But we also, like here, got to stick with the facts, got to bring out the facts and analyze each and every problem that comes about with some sound logic. Now, restating public positions and quotes. However, what she leaves out is that she has no actual causal system that she demonstrated with all the words she said. And she is very articulate. She's very strong. She's very intelligent, very well educated. So, but it's sound bites and rhetoric. All right. Linda Li implies a straight chain from this to that. Singer funds political groups. That is true, from my understanding. Therefore, Singer, because he puts in the dollars. Remember now, Soros puts in the dollars. This group puts in the dollars. That group puts in the dollars. Therefore, Singer controls policy because he greases the hands of politicians. Does dark money play? We can have all this out there, but she brought no receipts, what I'm saying. Therefore, she says pretty much, Singer causes a specific national strategy because he did this, and she is tying why Trump went in to Venezuela while overlooking all the other things that I brought out why we went into Venezuela. 100,000 or 200,000 or 300,000 die in a year. Drug boats coming in all the time. 800,000 refugees. We need to stabilize Venezuela so we can get them back to their country and get us out of the welfare business for the whole world. She also alluded to, therefore, Singer personally profits from it. He profits from the invasion, pretty much. We went in there because of Singer, because he pays this, that, and other. Do politicians and financiers look at stuff like that? I'm sure they do. However, there is no evidence, and you're putting forth a claim without receipts again. Therefore, Singer, she puts forth, personally profits from it. He tried to get away. He tried to throw out Massey, and he tried to do this and that and the other. Sure, he wants certain people in there. Sure, he got him the money to throw around. Elon Musk said the same thing about different ones. However, she got no receipts that this caused that. Therefore, the policy is illegitimate in her eyes. Why did we go there? Who gave them permission? Do nothing. America first is do nothing. While the world is all around you, affecting your nation, affecting your people, people are dying. Slow down on the drugs, stopping the drugs at the source doesn't help us, doesn't help America first. We're not starting war in Istanbul or some crazy place. Caracastan. We're in Venezuela, in Caracas, because Caracas is affecting Ohio, is affecting Minnesota, Montana. So we are making moves that address issues. Implications of supporting Trump. All right. So that chain that she is asserting, I say is not shown. She makes some good points. I don't see the receipts. A system claim requires documented control links. Where's the command authority? Where's the contractual policy capture or documented quid pro quo, like the Democrats like to put out, like Joe Biden actually did with Ukraine? Nothing is presented. Without control links, this is not a system. It is a narrative loop. I believe this, therefore this is true. This is true because I believe this. In real policy systems, causation flows from formal institutional pipelines, budgets move through appropriations committees. Treaties move through the Senate. Military actions are guided by the war powers framework. Energy development moves through permitting, leasing, and international agreements. None of those control gates is shown to be owned or directed by Singer in her claim. So the model under system mapping collapses. Her model of what is actually going on, as you saw in the videos for those that was here at that time, collapses. It collapses because she did not bring receipts. And for those who just joining in, I will have this again. I'll upload it to YouTube and all the other platforms. Excuse me. The implication, again, is of Singer supporting Trump. So Trump is going to invade a country so that Singer can get rich. She gave no other, she alluded to no other that I could tell in that short clip of why we went down there. There's no other reason. Singer is a billionaire. Trump is a billionaire. They about to make some money. All right. She also brought out the $17.3 trillion in oil figure is also a signal problem in information theory and evaluation. No geological classification is provided. No proven reserve category is cited. Now we can go do our Google searches and all that. But again, we're going after the signal. We're going after what she said. You know, does what she said or implied stand up? I can't help if you go to shows, go on these shows, and you just throw out a bunch of stuff and sound bites. People like me are going to run it down as best as we can and hold your foot to the fire. No recovery factor is stated. Now, the country, again, she talking about is Venezuela. However, she seems to omit the basin or the lease zone, which is not identified for that $17.3 trillion. This violates information accuracy standards. In system analysis, large numbers without classifications are noise, not data. She's saying a lot of stuff, was making a lot of noise and does the round on YouTube and different places. But where are the receipts? Now, Lindy Li's debt argument also misfired. Yeah, we're 38, probably 39 this year, going on $40 trillion in debt, which is awful, which we got to address, which we have a problem. Absolutely, positively. However, though, U.S. sovereignty or sovereign debt is not related to causally to individual foreign energy ventures, as she implied. She didn't bring the receipts. You can say anything, but we want receipts. This is 2026. The federal debt grows through statutory budget deficits. Military operations and energy partnerships are budget scored inside those statutory frameworks. You cannot claim we are broke, so therefore we should do no foreign operations, and all foreign operations therefore valid. Why are we doing this in Venezuela? We broke. Yeah, we got to do something in Venezuela because we broke, and because they are connected to Russia, China, Iran, enemies of the United States. They are laundering money through tankers, then getting Hezbollah terrorists in country on the island of Margarita. And so and so forth. So, yes, we went outside of America, we did an operation. And your idea of America first may not correspond with mine or the president's. The no day after plan is also unsupported. Sort of going back to the other one, make sure I, cover my notes. It's a category error. She's put in two different categories. We have a budget problem, therefore we can't do no foreign adventures. Foreign aid is different. I say cut that back. We $40 trillion, 39, 38. Yeah, that to me is same in the same category. You're taking in less and you're putting out more. Some got to stop. All right, that's category F. The day after plan, she does not know. She's on the outside of government. She's on the outside of the meetings. Now they could do, and hopefully they would do, more briefings, putting more information out. That would be awesome. The daily briefing by the White House, I would say is less reporters and more output. Sit in front from a YouTube channel, whatever, put it out on YouTube, put it out on TikTok. Say it. Say it on True Social. Put more information out. It don't have to be Donald Trump every day, but it could be on his platform because he get instant his availability with the information. So she says there's no day after plans. I say her claim is unsupported. Any national scale operation triggers interagency planning structures. All right. That's what I'm saying. That she's not in the loop. Just like I don't know what happened in every DNC meeting that she went to. I was outside the loop. I was outside the scope. However, nonetheless, some strategy went on, right or wrong, and they failed. And I can understand some things that America is doing, some things Trump is doing, it's going to fail. However, nonetheless, she's making a categorical statement without giving us the category or not lining it up that, excuse me, this causes that. Going to the department, system theory, structural analysis again. CENTCOM, state, treasury, and energy all run standing continuity frameworks, analysis of what they're doing when it comes from the command authority from the president on down. They got to cover themselves and they got to cover it for the Senate and the House. So for her to assert there's no plan requires proof that those systems are not engaged. How does she know? Did she go and ask? Too many people follow events and they don't follow the systems, the core systems, whatever. What paper was put out? What core information was sent out by the Department of Defense, the state, the Treasury that she overlooked? That's what I'm saying. Now, I would like to know more, absolutely, about their plans. But for her to say there's no plan, she don't bring any receipts. Now, to continue, from a system standpoint, this statement, her statement, commits 4 major analytical failures. First, it replaces control evidence with proximity storytelling. It's proximate. Second, it replaces causal proof with emotional framing. Third, it replaces structural data with large unsourced numbers. She didn't tell us where she got the numbers from. Fourth, it collapses over complex federal systems into a single villain mode. They did this therefore they're bad. This is not system analysis. It is a narrative compressed into a trick. Trick words, trick plays, to get us all emotional. Not saying she's doing anything evil, it's just human nature. Again, you go on these talk shows that are, you got 15, 20 minutes commercial break. You got to say it real quick. Producers like go, 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 or whatever is going on. It gets you to throwing out information that may not always be backed up with the receipts. That's what I'm saying. Again, information theory calls this a high entropy persuasion packet. It feels complex and important. It feels complex and important, but it has a low degree of verified structure and low causal traceability. High entropy narratives create belief, not knowledge. She wants you to believe. She wants you to say, I'm telling the truth. And, to her credit, this is what she believes. This is her rationale. And that's light. Nevertheless, if Lindy Li wanted to run a real systematic allegation or accusation of Trump, Singer, and the rest, she would need documented policy capture pathways, documented financial dependency loops. Why is Trump dependent on Singer? Documented command authority relationships. Singer says, hey, take Venezuela so I can make, millions. Documented contractual statutory benefit pipelines. Now we can go back into history and what it was, the banana or whatever companies in South America. Yes, that came out. That they did this for that. The British companies over in India. Yes, it was companies controlling the military. But because it happened 50 or 100 years ago, don't mean it exactly happened today. That is what needs to be said. Budget scoring trails. What line item, what budget allocation was made for this, and why? What about treaties and leases documentation for all the things she said about it? Agency coordination records. As we saw with the FBI, everybody makes notes. They write notes to themselves to cover themselves later, as they did when they spied on President Trump. Agencies coordination records. Where are these at? None of those appear here. So her claims fail the system's validation. It does not prove who controls what, who authorized what, who legally benefited, or how the policy pipeline actually functions. She's just making claims. She's throwing it out. Now, don't get me wrong, but I will clarify. This is what I believe. This is how I believe it happened. I got no receipts, but I think the American people need to think on this, or American people need to think of it this way or that way. That's what I'm saying is what I feel needs to be done when they're making these statements, these broad statements. She says, by Trump going down there, it is not American first critique of the policy. It's not. It does not fall within the American first policy as she see it, the American first movement as she see it. But I like to maintain she was not on board with Trump during the election. I don't know if she voted for him or not. I can't remember what she said. I've seen her in several different videos after Kamala fell apart in the election. Thank God. Now, it is a story, her statement, built on inferences stacking. And inferences stacking is not evidence. So there's an inference that's, I see this and I see that. And it could be this and it could be that, but no receipts. Further, Lindy Li is not presenting an evidence or evidential claim. She is presenting a narrative compression that feels like a causal proof. It collapses 5 independent systems into one villa mode, like I said before. So I'm going back over it before we close, recap it so everybody is on the same page that may have came in later. That is not how real policy systems operate, I would say. She asserts control without providing a control channel. She states, I might go a little faster on this one as I wrap it up. Singer funded the Federalist Society. I kind of like that society a little bit, anyway. So maybe I'm biased. All right. Singer funds Republicans. Okay. George Soros funds socialists and communists. Is he socialist and a communist? Singer invested in a company. Therefore, Singer calls a national geopolitical operation. That's what it seems to be. That's she's saying. Not trying to put words in her mouth. Therefore, Singer personally profits or will profit. That's what I heard her saying, to paraphrase it. Therefore, the operation violates American first policy and principles till they win in Venezuela. Even though the drugs was coming in America, affecting America, killing Americans, drug boats were coming in. They wasn't stopping. So he snatched the head off the snake. It grew another head. I agree. However, that's not at all the way it could end, because he had put him in notice. I'm going to do far worse to you than I did to Maduro. I already destroyed your air defense. Think what I do next. And appears sort of kind of maybe that we're still down there. We haven't withdrawn our aircraft carriers and other ships. They're going to have to replace those troops, those weapons, those missiles, those radar, those trucks, those vehicles. They're going to have to regroup. And if sonic weapon was used or some type of weapon, that might affect the next, good or bad, way the Venezuelans meet us on the shore when we come in, or in a helicopter or in the air. Their troops turned around. The aircraft landed after they've been warned, like, I'm here, we will take you out, land now. All right, so that chain requires proof. She's making claims. So that chain of events requires proof of command authority. Singer is all about Singer. He's the power player. Now, I live in Florida. You got Flagler. He just about ran the state when he was here. So I understand the possibilities, but she got no receipts. She's making statements without receipts. But U.S. foreign operators are authorized through President, say that again, U.S. foreign operations are authorized through presidential directives, National Security Council's planning, CITCOM operational control, congressional notification and budget scoring, treaty and sanctions laws, interagency continuity frameworks. Paul Singer controls none of these. He's not in the cabinet. He's outside. Could he affect it? Yes, but we are putting on someone things that we don't have actual factual receipts on. If you have them, bring them out. Put Trump and anybody else in this place if they're doing something like that. However, you're just making statements without any receipt. Just because a donor gives money to a certain party, but you didn't say about all of the Obama donors. The Chinese pretty much ran the foreign, the Secretary of State while she was the Secretary of State through her foundation. Hello, but we don't bring that up. All right, a donor does not become a control node. There is no command channel. There is no legal authority. There is no operational pathway. Without a control channel, there is no causal system, only correlation without causation. Well, he got Trump's ear. He can call Trump up anytime. He got Trump's phone number or whatever you can say. Maybe so, but you don't know. You can speculate all day, but I can bring you receipts on Hillary Clinton and her foundation and who put money in as long as she was Secretary of State. Okay? The all number she uses violates information theory standards. Now, as we go back to that $17.3 trillion of oil in the ground, this is not a classified reserve number. Real petroleum classification requires basin identification, proven versus probable versus possible categories, recovery factoring, modeling, production cost curves, lease or sovereign ownership boundaries. The more money, the more oil they pull out, the cheaper the price of gas, the less profit the oil companies are going to make. Therefore, they slow down. They slow down on shale. They slow down on the heavier crude. So yeah, it's money to be made down there. And Trump says he's gonna take 50 billion and dispense it for the Venezuelan people. We'll see how that works. Does he have the authority? He's doing it. We'll see if they fight him in the courts or however, whoever, the Democrats sue everything. But we will see. But again, she makes a lot of claims and a lot of statements, but I do not see the receipts at this time. Without those, the numbers has zero analytic meaning. It functions only as an emotional magnitude amplifier. Large number does not equals the data. It's inadequate. The inadequacy, including that of the two values, are not equal. You got the large number and you got the data she was giving out, but you don't have the correlation. Again, it's an entropic noise. So what do I mean? I mean entropy in the context of noise. Quantifies the uncertainty or randomness of a signal. Higher entropy indicates greater unpredictability and less information content. And for science, predictability is part of the scientific method. You got to quantify to be able to bring it out. The debt argument, again, is a category error. National debt does not invalidate individual foreign policy actions. Debt occurs through, as I said, statutory federal budget deficit. Military and energy operations are budget scored within appropriations laws. They are not personally funded by billionaires. So We are broke, therefore this must be corrupt. It's not a causal statement, it's a fiscal category error. It's not apples and oranges. They may be both fruit, but they are unrelated in that area. One helps you with scurvy, the other one, I don't know. Apple a day keeps the doctor away. Again, the no day after plan is a pretty much a provable false systems assumption. Every regional operation triggers CENTCOM continuity plans and frameworks, State Department stabilization pipelines, Treasury sanctions systems, energy security planning, intelligence community modeling. So to claim there is no plan requires proof that those systems were bypassed. She produces none. She don't know what plans we have. I would like to know more about it, but she does not know in and of itself. Again, coming to the end here, she states this is not American First plan. That's her analysis. That's what it appeals to be to me. However, her analysis and her narrative collapses. She compresses global energy systems, federal budgeting, judicial donor history, congressional campaigns, foreign policy operations into a single billion node. That is not an analysis, that is narrative substitution. No receipts, but a lot of rhetoric. Even though I like what she did, the courage she had to come out. I'm sure she got blackballed. She said she did from the Democratic apparatus. You either in or you out. And that's generally with both sides, but especially with them. You got to be hardcore on the left, drinking that Kool-Aid like it's no tomorrow. One slip up and you're not good enough. So system theory, as I see it, rejects her statements. Why? Because complex systems do not collapse into single private actors. Policy causation must pass through legal control gates. No such gates are demonstrated. Now we got it came from Jackal Island. If you want to bring in what could have, should have, may have happened, what happened was, could deals have been done in the dark? Yes. When we may know of them, maybe 10, 15, 75 years from now. I'm not saying it could not absolutely not have happened. That's not my call. What I'm saying is she just throwing stuff out there. And the left, the enemy of true Americans, are eating it up. That's what I'm saying. So she has the right under the First Amendment, as far as I know, say what you want to say. However, nonetheless, I see that, as far as I'm concerned, she did not bring the receipts. That's what I'm trying to point out here. So what her statement actually is, it is a high emotional, low structure persuasion packet. Okay. This is, again, we talk about information theory and system theory to analyze what she said. This might not be for everybody. I like to go deep. I like to go with the scientific processes so I can have an understanding and a breakdown and how it relates back and forth. Not just surface thinking, not this knee-jerk reaction. Everybody can do that. Let's go a little deeper. She uses high certainty language, large unsourced numbers, name association framing, moral overlay, no causal pathways, no institutional mapping, no legal control evidence. This is not intelligence analysis. This is not systems evaluation. This is not fiscal modeling. It is rhetoric in its nature. Okay. So what do you think? Am I right? Am I wrong? I'm being too harsh? But we're making claims that could affect people's mindsets, their voting habits. We're coming up on the midterms. We got to get out there. We got to speak the truth and bring receipts. And because the other side, they own feelings and sanity, running over cops, trying to run over cops, getting run over because, oh no, you can't do this to a federal agent, to police. Who elected you? We the people run this, not you the individual. And we say no. We say they're doing what we voted for them to do. And this majority rule is governed, and if you have a problem with it, you take it through the courts, or you get out there, you march to get your person elected. But when you lose, just because you lose the Super Bowl, you don't tear the town down. Just because you win, you don't tear it down. Some of y'all got to realize that. So here's my final verdict. I say her claim fails on control, verification, causal, traceability, information sufficiency, institutional pathway mapping, budget law consistency. I say it does not describe a real system. It describes a story. It's her story. She brought no receipts. So again, I hope you enjoyed this. If you want more, please like, share, subscribe, follow. Hit the tab. Want to get notified? I'm on YouTube. I'm on Twitch. I'm on TikTok and everything else. So let me know what you think. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you come back for more. Tell me where I went wrong. I go too long. You don't understand a word I'm saying. Let me know. God bless. All right, let's go.